just woke up from a nap. I figure I'll come out here and shoot something pretty simple. I don't really have much time left. The sun is going down. I'm just out here sitting on this little rock here. Out here in nature, as always. Here. I'm at the same show that I'm usually at. I just decided to, veer off the trail a little bit. Wasn't planning on it. I'm sitting here wearing slides. Almost slipped on the way down here, but it's all good. Anyways, I just wanted to talk about something real easy, real simple to talk about, and that is why I don't watch the news. I know a lot of people do watch the news, and just want to throw my little 2 cents out there, so maybe you can, make a conscious decision if you want to watch the news or not, or continue to watch the news. There's obviously a lot going on in the world, and the news doesn't cover nearly as much as what I believe should be covered, or how it should be covered. But I'll just kind of start with the beginning. Back in 1915, J.P. Morgan, he was, obviously he's a banker, but he decided he was going to hire some people to basically search for the top newspapers in the United States at the time. So they found like 100 newspapers, but then I think it was like 130 something, but then they narrowed it down to, I believe, 25. So they bought the newspapers out, and this way they basically controlled or decided what the newspapers would be publishing. 2 years later, roughly, the United States was a participant in the First World War. So anyways, if you look at who owns all the media today, you'll see it's roughly around 6 large corporations. I think it's like Disney. It's 6 of them. I'm gonna put them up on the screen. Don't worry. But they pretty much own everything we watch, read, consume, listen to. So, with that being said, one must come to the conclusion that it's a possibility that they might withhold information or tell basically their own narrative, the narrative they want to. And it's quite obvious. If you look at CNN, CNN particularly is a Democratic audience, while Fox News is a Republican. So it's obvious. Each broadcasting company has their own narrative, but what's most important is, or the takeaway is, it all really don't matter. It's all matrix stuff. It's all, I have to watch how I say things, because I'm not trying to get, what do they call it, fact checked and censored or nothing, but there's just a certain narrative that's getting told. And there's a history of corruption with that narrative, minus all of the history, narrative, matrix stuff, what some may call conspiracy theorist stuff. The main reason why I don't watch the news is because they just don't report anything but negative and toxic information. And that's really what it all comes down to. I mean, yeah, there's, like I said, there's so many different reasons why, but it really just comes down to basic, hold up. Hopefully that's not too bright. I believe that there's so much good going on in the world, and the news only focuses on shoving basically negative information down your throat, and it's endless, it's nonstop. Like, we got it, we're in the middle of a whatever, but it's just not really healthy to be paying attention to that stuff. There's many people suffering, watching, too much of the news and going through anxiety, living their life in fear. When has the news ever addressed that? When does the news take a break and be like, alright, we've been shoving the C word down their throats for a year straight now. Let's put on something, happier. It's really obvious. I know why. I'm just gotta read between the lines. I don't watch the news. I haven't watched the news since last March. I've just been living my life. And I'm happy. So instead of watching the news, I look for independent reporters, journalists, just good sources of people who can report without any biasness. And then after that, I just do my own research. Oh, my legs hurt. And one good example of reporting that's non-biased and kind of lets you know things, in a smart way to where it doesn't really get censored or deleted, is the YouTube channel Russell Brand. I love watching his YouTube channel. I think the way he goes about reporting, because if you watch his channel, you'll see that he holds papers and everything. He's literally like a news anchor, but he's talking about topics that need to be talked about, questioned about. You know what I mean? And let's just say, for example, let's say for example, climate change, right? It's my personal opinion that climate change is a whole bunch of bull. With my research and what I know, that's where I have come to that conclusion about climate change. looking back at, the evidence, the unaltered evidence and numbers, like the temperature and weather through the centuries. I really don't want to talk about climate change like that, but now that I'm talking about it, the Earth has always been warming up, cooling down, warming up, cooling down. That's what it does. It's that simple. Now, if you pitch a certain amount of scarcity and fear and repetition, just drill it in somebody's head, it's proven fact that that person's going to start believing it, whether they really, would have believed it or not. But anyways, you can't have a conversation about climate change without talking about weather modification, without talking about agriculture, carbon dioxide. A lot of people have the wrong understanding of what, about carbon monoxide. I'm sorry. Carbon dioxide. CO2. I'm trying not to go off topic here. But yeah. So even going further than that, you can't have a conversation about climate change until you start acknowledging the fact that the universe is beyond our understanding. I mean, there's a lot of us that got it decently figured out, but as a whole, there's just too much information to learn about the universe, and we're just not there yet as a species. We don't know everything like the ancient ancestors and Egyptian civilizations, ancient civilizations used to. So let's talk about the cycle of precession. Let's talk about binary star systems. But the news. Back to the news. So that's just an example of how I feel like the media or the news just doesn't really talk about all points. It's always, or I can't say always, it's always, most of the time it's their point of view, how they want to report it. If you guys ever want to do your own research, don't use Google. I use DuckDuckGo.com. They will give you way more search results. Pretty much everything that Google censors. So don't use Google for research. Give DuckDuckGo a try. But anyways, I really can't tell you, what to do with your life. Whether you should watch the news or not, totally up to you. When I do watch the news, I'm not watching the news, but when I do see stuff online, I choose to, I choose when I'm going to look at certain things, because at the same time, you don't want to ignore what's going on in the world, but you don't want to overconsume. You need to be aware of certain things so you can make sure you're maneuvering through this matrix, this life, strategically, so you can protect your overall well-being and your health. So that's really the only time I'm looking at stuff like that. I want to take it a different route real quick and talk about fear, because that's really the only thing you're going to get out of watching the news is fear, anxiety, and worry. These low energies, which leads to complications to your health. You can, fear manifests into many different things. Healthy fear that's one thing. Healthy fear can send you into a state of survival, away from danger. But constant fear, that's not good for your health. Living in a constant state of fear or worry. Fear itself has a vibration, just like everything in this world. Everything. Emotions have vibrations. These trees vibrate. I'm vibrating. Every living thing, inanimate object, everything made of matter has a vibration, a frequency that is measurable. And fear, I think, is somewhere down there in like the 100 megahertz, I think. Can't remember if it was 100 megahertz or 100 hertz. But if you compare that to the frequency of higher emotions like love, compassion, empathy, enlightenment, those things are all up in the 500-600 range. So being in that state of fear and worry, like I said, it's really just not good for you at all. It tears you up. It lowers your frequency. Fear can keep you from living. It can stop you from a lot of things. You'll limit yourself being in fear all the time. My mother used to watch the news when I was at the beginning of my spiritual journey, and I had to cut that stuff off. But she would be watching it, and I'm just like, why are you watching that? It bothered me a lot at the time. But eventually she got it. She figured it out too. They only talk about one thing. So she doesn't watch the news anymore, which is good. So I ended up bringing my notebook out here because I'm not an encyclopedia, and I wrote down a few effects of fear. And what I pulled up was cardiovascular health, ulcers, irritable bowel syndrome, decreased fertility, depopulation, anxiety, covered that, I think, depression, accelerated aging, premature death, and gut health. So not only will it mess you up emotionally, psychologically, but physically as well. So you gotta ask yourself, what's really important? And to me, it's pretty simple. In this world, in this lifetime, all we have is our health. Health is like the most important thing. I'm really big into health. Oh crap. I'm really into health, like big time, for real. So I think I said it already, but yeah, I did say it. Basically, fear is gonna stop you from a lot in life. It's gonna keep your consciousness really low. It's gonna keep you plugged into the matrix. It's gonna have you just worrying about the wrong things, you know what I mean? So I think I said enough about it. Why I don't watch the news. I hope you guys take into consideration how much news you watch. But the sun's going down. But if I had to give my advice, I would say just cut it off. Just put the remote down and go outside. Go out in nature. Raise your vibrations. eat healthy. Next time somebody turns on the news, it's gonna repulse you. Okay, I'm done rambling now. I think I'm gonna go ahead and walk down that way towards the water and then head back to the cart. Oh, I'm gonna sit here and walk down there in these. Anyways, ow. I need to find something else to sit on because that hurt my butt on my knees. Anyways, I'm gonna go ahead and get out of here now. I hope that you guys took something from this video. It's pretty simple. If your health is your concern, if you feel like you probably have been watching too much news, just cut the news off. Come out here, come outside, get into nature. Nature has a very special and unique way of making you feel good, realigning yourself. So I love you guys. I will see you in the next video. Take care.